You may know about this really cool book that was made during the pandemic called The Book, which is all about like survival, what happens if there's an apocalypse, science, all these different things inside. It was all over social media, and they've now come to Japan, and I'm doing a really quick couple-minute LocaRISE audit on the hero and initial view of this page, just so we can see how Hungry Minds, which is the name of the company, could actually improve this from a LocaRISE perspective, the 8 lenses of LocaRISE, to potentially get more decision and more conversion from Japanese customers, right? Because the book is awesome, and I think a lot of Japanese people would be happy to have it. So let's start just by looking at color. I'm going to start with one really positive. CTAs in red are really good in Japan. It's the number one color for CTAs for conversion. The only problem here is that the only link is buy the book, right? So that's not going to work super well for Hungry Minds. What we often do is we'll often recommend that even for product-based brands, we have something called a soft, a firm, and a hard CTA. This is hard, and it's also a little inaccurate because it doesn't tell people where they're going. It just says buy the book, which doesn't work as good. It's a little bit too aggressive in the Japanese market. Other things that we see here, they've got the reviews on the page, which is great. One problem, they've done over 300,000 sold. Look how small that is. Japanese people love data of scale. It's one of the lenses, right? So bringing that out, putting that out there in a more predominant way, they're wasting a lot of black space here. There's a great opportunity to put more information and more data, and more social proof, etc., into the space. The video is very much out of context. It's kind of scenic, right? In a study, dark lighting, but it's not really realistic. An interesting approach to test out might be to zoom out a little bit, because we know Japan really likes to understand the context in which products and services exist. So zooming out, making it a little bit more of a realistic situation with the book in the space, with people using it and interacting together, etc., etc., would be a really interesting hero test here. Japanese people, Japanese environment. This is a very premium product, so also giving it a very premium setting. So this has this very like Victorian, I'm not usually sure if I'm using the right word, it has this very like Victorian sort of feel and design to it, which is great, but I don't know if that's going to be as effective in the imagery as making something a little bit more practical and realistic. So keep the design and the language Victorian, but probably the functional things like imagery and media and stuff like that, like photos, for example, make them a little bit more realistic and situational. Maybe even with a little bit of mix of that flavor in, might also be a really good test. They've got a 30-day money-back guarantee, but there's a lot of red there that's missing out, right? Maybe talk more about the book, a little bit of certified lens type of stuff there. Is it print? I don't know. It's probably not printed in Japan, but anything that they can use to make it feel like a really locally adapted product. They did a Kickstarter, Makuake, which is kind of like a Kickstarter in Japan. Putting that in up at the top might also be a really good add-on. There are also only 4 links in the navigation. Japanese people are going to want to learn a little bit more about maybe the customer service around this purchase of the product. And they're also going to want to navigate the product in different ways. So a really great addition here could be if they created like a process page, or if they created a page about like the artist, right? So adding these things and letting Japanese people explore more is also going to increase the conversion rates for this product. The key text here is really that the text that you see right underneath the words "the book," right? Which talks about what the book is. But then under that, you also have like a few kind of features of it. But this is very kind of feature oriented, right? And Japanese people, they already have that high context lens about the way they look at things. So instead of focusing on features, if you go a little further down the value proposition path, if you will, we have something at Humble Bunny called True VP. What we do is we follow this thing called the value path, and we move from features to benefits to outcomes and to experiences. So one great way they could utilize the space and the headings and the copy better is to focus less on the features and bring in a little bit more about the benefits, the outcomes, and maybe even the experiences that come with owning such a luxury book, right? What does it do for your enjoyment? Maybe potentially as an introvert, right? But what does it also do if, if you're a socialite, which is really rare in Japan, but some of the more like, let's call them richer, wealthier people might do a little bit of socializing at home, right? So like, how could this contribute to being in the know, or these egoic signals that Japanese people have around materialism and owning something that others don't, or being able to tell a story that others don't know, like these sorts of things that play really well into the Japanese decision approach and how they're socially accepted and seen by others, right? So there's a lot of opportunity here just in this first scene. What else do you guys see? Tell me if there's something here that you think would be a really good test or a really good play, or something that they're missing. Yeah, put it in the comments.